It has been 4 whole months since the last time I got to do this series. This is your F1 comments, the series I wanted to start in 2020, delving into the comment section of the YouTube highlights of the previous Formula 1 Grand Prix that have just been, and looking at the best, the worst, and just the funniest comments underneath. Now, of course, very much like Ferrari in 2020, this series got cancelled this year due to that thing that's got a very similar name to a beer, which I can't say, otherwise this video will get demonetized. And last week, Formula 1 returned with the Austrian Grand Prix, but the F1 game was launching, so I couldn't do a video then. But we're finally back for your F1 comments for this Styrian Grand Prix, and wow, what a perfect episode to come back to. What a great race to start this series off again, because I just got to say thank you. Thank you to Ferrari. Thank you very much. You gave me a thumbnail, a title, everything, because my word, that race was a shocker. I don't have my notebook anymore. I think I've lost it somewhere in the 4 months they're here, so I'm just going to look at my screen for the comments here. And we've got the starting comment, absolutely masterclass, this one. The Grand Ferrari Master Plan. 2018 mission, well, it's pronounced Winnow, but just for the joke, I'll pronounce it Win Now. 2018 mission Win Now. 2019 mission Win Next Year. 2020 mission Impossible. 2021 mission Failed. This man has done Ferrari so dirty, that's class one. It was just bad. Let's talk about it. Obviously, Leclerc went diving down the inside to a space that he really shouldn't have gone for, went on the curb, got some mega airtime, as we saw for the onboard of Kimi Raikkonen, and launched it over Vettel's car. His rear wing broke. Vettel out, Leclerc out, and you know what? It was just so poetic. Really poetic how the Ferrari Twitter account, they tweeted out about the race starting, as most of the F1 teams tweet out the 5 red lights, let's get going, and usually there's a GIF or something there. So Ferrari put their tweet out, ready to race with the hashtag SSR Ferrari, Austrian GP, and the very next tweet, the two cars collided. Hashtag Seb5 is back to the garage. Hashtag Austrian Grand Prix. To be fair, though, you've got to give it to Charles Leclerc. He did admit that he was wrong completely, so it's very mature of him to completely put his hands up, and it was his fault. I think he was quite eager to make up places, obviously being handed an extra grid penalty on top of just not qualifying too well. He qualified on the same row as George Russell, the man he was battling in F1 esports, and they joked about, being together in F1 in real life eventually. Well, it was basically going to happen if it wasn't for that grid penalty. They would have started alongside each other, and that brings us on to this very aptly comment. I like to quote Charles Leclerc, Baku 2019, I am stupid. We're going to continue with the same theme because, as you can imagine, many top comments were about the Ferrari team. We've got 2019 Ferrari versus Mercedes, 2020 Ferrari versus Ferrari. In a sense of not even just Seb v Charles, I think it's just themselves. It astounds me at, the team of their caliber, their, tradition, the amount of budget they have, that they're able to make, one, a slower car, and also just operate in this way of, after many years, they don't have a long-term project that actually sustains itself. You've got football teams like Liverpool having a long-term project that actually works out and then winning the Premier League this year, and you've got Ferrari, all this money, and there's just, they keep talking about a long-term project, but it's just not happening. McLaren are further along in their long-term project compared to Ferrari's long-term project to get back to winning ways and get a championship back to Maranello. Same sort of theme, 2019, not many teams can beat Ferrari. 2020, every team can beat Ferrari, including Ferrari themselves. Carlos Sainz's search history. Now, I thought this during the Grand Prix. I was like, he's beating both Ferraris and a McLaren, looking pretty okay. Obviously, at the end, his race didn't end as he wanted to, but he was doing a lot better than both Ferraris in both weekends. So I'm really questioning how much he wants to go there anymore. Just for the sake of it is Ferrari, but still, so to the comments, Carlos Sainz's search history: 1, how to unsign a contract; 2, how to get fired from Ferrari; 3, how to get a Mercedes seat; 4, how to apply for McLaren's test driver role; 5, how to get an Italian to fire you; 6, wiki how to get fired; 7, is Williams and Haas better than Ferrari; 8, how to sign for Williams. Brilliant comment. I love that. I love the effort that's gone into that. All 8 were astounding. Could start completely all true as well. It's just, I know there's a big pull for signing for Ferrari, but you've got to think, really, surely, deep down in Sainz's head, there's got to be a bit of a question mark of, Oh, God. Moving on, though, to one of the stars of Formula 1 on its return. Lando Norris did it again. Obviously, I'm gutted I missed out on doing a reaction and video like this to the first Grand Prix because he got a podium, Lando Norris, our first race of the season. But that second race as well, absolutely blistering. And I quoted it with Lando last lap Norris because, my word, that guy is on another level in the last lap. So we've got a comment here. Engineer, okay, Lando, this is your last lap. Repeat, last lap of the race. Lando, haha, McLaren goes vroom vroom. Engineer, Lando last lap. Lando activated Lando bot. I mean, you know, it's a good suggestion. Maybe Lando bot is right. I mean, we saw Lando bot in action in the virtual GP at Bahrain. Maybe he's got Lando bot activated. It's just a little button on the switch that he just presses and he just becomes a computer and just drives around like that because he's a man on a mission. He's like to quote Top Gear, he's like a stabbed rat at the end of the race. He's literally just bolting forward. The way he just lights up the timesheets, so impressive from Lando, and I'm sure it's a great thing for us as well as F1 fans, I feel, to have someone like Lando, such a personality, you know, always up for a joke outside off track. To have him being so, you know, at the forefront of F1 right now on track is great for us in terms of content, you know, radio messages and whatnot. I mean, it was great. It's just class to see the rapport he has and the banter he has and just the good feel that McLaren have as a team as it stands on, especially on Lando's side of the garage at the end of these Grand Prix. And so we'll see how it goes for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Will it be third time lucky for Lando in terms of a last lap banzai? I hope so. But during that escapade at the Styrian Grand Prix, Lando did get helped out by Sergio Perez having a knock on his front wing from Alexander Albon, which I thought was quite funny because it was almost like a repeat of Hamilton on the inside of Albon. You've got Sergio Perez and a pink Mercedes on the inside of Albon. It was almost like a carbon copy. If Albon got spun, that would have been it for me. I would have had enough. I would have got the tinfoil hat out and said there's a conspiracy theory going on. But yeah, Perez hits Albon, broke his front wing, and so this is a great comment. I love this, the rhythm and flow to this. Sergio Perez's front wing exists. Lando, hippity hoppity, P5 is my property. I love that. I love that. That's a great meme. I love the rhythm that he's also got with P5 is my property. Oh, sublime, sublime. We're quickly going back to the Ferrari issue because we got a great comment here. Rumours say Vettel may announce his retirement soon. Vettel doesn't. Leclerc, I'm going to end this man's whole career. Right, then we move on to a great comment. Lewis Hamilton obviously won the Grand Prix in great fashion. He said, you know, his team said post-race he probably could have even won it with more seconds gone, but he just kind of used the tyres when he needed to. 1.2 in quali in the wet, showing why Hamilton is one of the GOATs for sure in Formula 1. And this comment, and this Grosjean is why Hamilton makes 40 million a year. And it's very, very true, because I think it was before the entire season began, talking about the cost caps coming in, Grosjean said, I don't understand, you know, drivers shouldn't get paid 40 million a year. No, mate. This is why Hamilton gets paid 40 million and why you're probably on a lot lower. And to be fair, Grosjean probably can't complain because probably the lowest paid F1 driver is still paid a healthy amount. But it's just like, it's like in any sport. The reason why you get paid and there's so much money in these sports is because how many eyeballs are on these things and how accountable you are to perform. And Hamilton, time and time again, does get the job done, does perform. Obviously, yes, he didn't perform as well as he could have done last race, but that's just the case of F1, the nature of it when you get locked into pole position. Unfortunately, it looks like once again this year it's going to be very difficult to really break that gap unless you have a massive pace difference. But that, you know, the next weekend Hamilton just gets riled up, gets the job done in a very tricky wet qualifying, and that's why he gets paid such a handsome amount. Grosjean, I mean, what can you contribute? Crashing again, having brakes failed, visiting the gravel track. These things do not warrant 40 million, my friend. We've got a nice overview of the race and maybe the season to come. The good of this season, that midfield is so interesting. The bad of the season, the top is awfully stale. The ugly of this season, being a Ferrari fan. I mean, they're not wrong. I mean, I feel bad for just going back and back to this point and just to the joke, basically, but there's just too much content from it. Even I tweeted out at the time in the Grand Prix, little cheeky plug, that it was basically summing Ferrari's season up in one go. Then they had that camera shot of both Ferraris pulling up into the pit lane. You saw on the ladder they were second last and last, and they're waiting for a double stack pit stop to retire Seb, see what Leclerc can do, but then they realise he's gone out for one more lap and then just thought, no, the floor damage was way too much. It's like someone's asked Ferrari, can your season get any worse? Yes. in one word, just yes. The best battles, Hamilton versus Light. I mean, in qualifying, not wrong. He's literally just battling the light around him on the circuit. Racing Point versus everyone else, which I'd agree with. Looks like Racing Point, obviously, they haven't quite got a working range of their car. They had Perez had some lightning pace in that GP before he hit Albon. So if they had got qualifying right, they could have been right up there. So it is really kind of fighting everyone else to try and get kind of, you know, a nice balance on their car. And also in terms of protest, Renault just protested Racing Point, so it's all kicking off there. And then Vettel versus Ferrari. Really, you know, the second they kind of said we're not going to continue with Seb, and then it came out that they didn't discuss a contract. Like, Seb completely admitted that Ferrari never came to him with a contract. So it really is just like he's been ousted without any conversation. So he's just driving for himself. And this year, well, so far, the pattern's gone very badly indeed. Like I said, the previous week was the Austrian Grand Prix, and unfortunately I couldn't do a video like this for that one because the F1 game launched, but I'm going to do some kind of honourable mentions, sort of top comments of that one as well, and kind of combine the two. So we got one of the comments at 128 of that Austrian Grand Prix highlight video. I think this was a great commentary line from Crofty. Leclerc's on the inside. Carlos Sainz would be his teammate next year and crashes into Sebastian Vettel this year. Great. That was a very awkward dynamic. The fact that Seb was careering towards Sainz and spun it around, that was an embarrassing crash for Seb, or spin rather for Seb. So both Ferrari cars, both guys haven't really done themselves any pride in either race. Seb, that was a bit of a silly mistake for him to kind of go in a little bit too hot and then spin it like that. And then for Leclerc this race, so kind of equaled out, but that was a fantastic line. Crofty does get a lot of things wrong, but he can come up with some absolute poetry for sure when it comes to these kind of situations, and it was very awkward. Like, again, I go back to Sainz, surely in the... I mean, maybe the adrenaline's way too high for him to think about it, but after the race, when the adrenaline's gone, surely he's thinking about the dynamics and the kind of, you know, just little cogs in his head turning a little bit like, I'm going to Ferrari next year, they're this bad, I've got the current Ferrari teammate, the man I'm replacing, spinning and crashing into me. It's just very, very odd. This was one of the biggest top comments, but obviously there was a whole week for this to kind of, you know, settle down and get thumbs up, but 2.3k likes on the comment section of the Austrian GP highlights on this one. Things that never change. Mercedes winning, Albon losing a podium because of Hamilton, Ricciardo's engine breaking, Vettel spinning, Williams last, Grosjean DNF. It just all makes sense, doesn't it? We had an absolutely hilarious moment where the front right tyre fell off Kimi Raikkonen's wagon, and it was very, very straight. It looked like a full-on crash, but the tyre just flew off, and so we've got Kimi, what the fuck? Hit, Kimi, you will not have the wheel. In every sense in this instance, he did not have the wheel. Austrian GP 2019, no retirement. 2020, almost half the field retired. It was really great actually to see. I don't know about any of you guys, but in my opinion, it was fantastic to see so much unreliability in a race. I would love to have that more often in Formula 1. We kind of don't get it just because how far the technology has come, how far the sport's come of reliability, but it was great, the chaos there of not knowing till the last lap who was going to come where due to retirements, due to issues. You could see the cobwebs were there in the first race. Unfortunately for the Styrian Grand Prix, it was rather dull in the middle, and no one really had major reliability issues, if we're being real, compared to the first one we did at the first, I nearly said the first Austrian Grand Prix, but we're at Austria 2 times. You get what I mean. It was very, very cool to see that level of commotion. Another nice sum up of the Austrian GP race. We saw it all. Vettel spins, Ricciardo DNFs, Grosjean bins it, Valtteri, it's James, Kimi looking for his wheel, Mercedes 1-2. This was such a meme. Back onto the subject of Lando Norris, Hamilton gets the penalty, Lando Norris, gas intensifies as he just went on, and that literally was the case. If you watch the team radio, it's really cool to see how his engineer was pushing him on, telling him at every single corner, you know, use that overtake mode, use this bit of ERS, and every time you can just see him getting faster and faster, and then banking in that fast up the Grand Prix to get your first podium. Did it in style, did he not? And I'm going to end off this video with a very fitting comment here, the top comment from the Austrian GP. Man, I really missed, and it's lights out, and away we go. It really was, you know, that feeling of the 5 red lights going out again was so sorely missed. 4 long months we've all had to wait as F1 fans, and F1 is finally back, and I'm really glad I can bring back this series, your F1 comments. Hopefully I'll continue to do this now for every single GP we have. Obviously last week was a unique situation with the F1 game launching, so that kind of took priority, but hopefully you guys are looking forward to this series being back, and it's something that you guys are enjoying as well. Let me know in the comments below how I can maybe improve this series, of course, because I did 2 testing episodes and those went really well, but I was still trying to figure out the kind of formula and the best way to make these videos, kind of the best way to go about it, you know, during the recording, basically. And so always still looking to improve. So let me know in the comments below. But if you guys did enjoy it, then hit that like button. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. Like I said, I'll be trying to bring out this Your F1 Comment series every single Monday following the real-life Grand Prix. But till then, guys, the next one won't have to wait long. 1 week, and it's already race week, as everyone is tweeting about ferociously right now, because it's the Hungarian Grand Prix in literally 5-6 days' time. So till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.